Hello, everybody. January 14th, 2020. What's one of the top news stories of the day? The New Jersey bill to remove religious uh, exemptions was shot down. The protesters, those true patriots that showed up in force in the thousands, shot this bill down or influenced the voters in the Senate enough that it didn't have enough votes to go through. This is an awesome, awesome thing. These bills have been introduced throughout the past couple of years, trying to strip our personal and religious rights to deny the mandated vaccine, the compulsory vaccine mandates, and it's putting our children at risk. You're told lies that vaccines are safe and effective and that this is for the greater good, for herd immunity, community immunity, whatever marketing scheme you want to call it. It's BS. It doesn't work that way. You need to start doing some research and look at the science. In fact, if you're looking at coverage rates, they're some of the best they've ever been in all of history, and yet we're still having all these outbreaks because vaccine immunity doesn't last, and there's no way to create community immunity from the vaccine. So let's jump into some of the articles that have come out and just take a look at what's actually going on. So if you look at the vaccine exemption, just search that. Every story you're going to see today is the bill to end religious exemptions for vaccination collapsed in New Jersey. Anti-vaxxers celebrate victory in New Jersey as pro-vaccine bill falls apart. New Jersey parents can still cite religion as a reason not to vaccinate their kids as the bill collapses. This is all good news for the health of these kids as well as for our preserving our liberties and freedoms. It goes on and on. There's so many of these articles and they're all really clickbaity, and when you read in them, they're going to talk about how all the controversy around it, the vaccine misinformation, how the Senate's going to vow to continue going on. He says it's going to get done, says Mr. Sweeney, the Senate president, repeating a vow that he made since last month. And he says they can bang on their drums and their sirens and their truck horns as it became clear that the measure was a single vote shy of passage. This is a real public health emergency. A public health emergency. This is just specific language they are using to trigger panic, to make you reactive, to make you question yourself. If you've already done some research and decided, you know what, I don't like the risk profile of these vaccines, they use this language of public health emergency or public crisis, and it's not. In fact, vaccination rates are some of the highest they've ever been in all of history. Now, when I was a kid, I was born in 1980. So, growing up as an infant to a toddler to a child to an adolescent, there was never these scares of measles outbreaks, even the acute flaccid myelitis that's going around. We didn't see it like that back then. All the chronic health issues that are going on today, the mental health crisis that really does exist today, these are all brought to you by the overwhelming scientific consensus that vaccines are safe and effective, even though none of the research actually supports that claim. So the other hot topic is vaccine misinformation. You do a quick search on that, you get article after article after article. Facebook is running anti-vax ads despite its ban on vaccine misinformation. Study examines spread of vaccine misinformation on social media. New survey shows increasing number of parents with young children don't support vaccination. High five, guys. We're winning. Correcting vaccine misinformation is a difficult process, study shows. Do you want to know why it's so difficult? Because it's not misinformation. If you haven't seen this last Thursday's episode of The High Wire. You really need to watch it because they highlight back in December, just last month, there was a conference. The World Health Organization held the vaccine safety conference. And let's hear what they said about this misinformation that's spreading on social media.
I spend a lot of time talking, particularly in the last 6 months, with tech companies, Facebook, WhatsApp, Pulsar, Twitter, Instagram, WeChat, Weibo. They have a lot of fingers pointing at them to fix the misinformation problem. But it's not so simple. One, the biggest problem is a lot of it's not misinformation.
It's not so simple. And number one, the biggest problem is it's not misinformation. What they're telling and warning other parents is true. Okay, you can't just remove what's being said if it's true, because then you'd be guilty of censorship and coercion, and you can't do that. So they can't just take it away. They just have to do their best to distract you from it with all these headlines triggering reactive fear. What else do they say?
Our problem is, as we've heard in the last 48 hours, that there's not anything 100%. And what actually can legally, without creating a censorship thing, can we absolutely say this is misinformation? Because we have a lot of ambiguity in the safety field, and we have to come to terms with that. So we have to think about it differently than deleting misinformation, but building trust so people are willing to put up with a certain amount of risk because they believe in it enough. They believe in our work, what we're doing, and that it's in their interest.
It's ridiculous what she's saying. Okay, well, we can't just delete it because it's true, and the safety science isn't really there to support our claims, so the solution isn't going to be let's rehaul vaccines and make them safer. The solution is we need to come up with better ways to incite trust and get them to believe that our efforts are in their best interest. We need to continue with the propaganda and do more efforts to brainwash the public so that they'll accept the risk for the greater good. What a crock of crap. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There were so many things admitted in this meeting of the World Health Organization's Vaccine Safety Summit. They talked about how it's not only the public and the citizens that are questioning vaccine safety. Now the providers are as well. And if the providers are questioning it, we can't have that. That's a huge issue. And then she goes on, so why are the providers questioning it? Well, because they only got half a day of vaccine education, if that. And everybody there laughs and goes, yeah, that's true. So they admit that doctors don't get trained on exactly what vaccines are, what's in them, what's the safety to risk profile. They're just told vaccines are safe and effective, and then they regurgitate that on us, and we take that as gospel. This is an amazing meeting. It's an amazing episode. They also talk about how there's no such thing as a safety study that the flu or DTaP should be safe for pregnant women, and that any recommendation to get a flu vaccine is off-label use. So it's fantastic. You have to go watch that if you haven't seen it. And then just to give a shout out to the thousands of people in New Jersey that showed up. Look at all these patriots, God-fearing men and women. And you don't need, religion aside, you should have the choice. Just take a look at all these people.
Superpower? You want to have a superpower? You want to be a future Superman? Then stick with God as your judge.
Dell's awesome. And Mary Holland. She's awesome.
God we trust. In God we trust. In God we trust. In
They were
God
out
we
here
trust.
for
In
hours,
God we
days,
trust. In
throughout
God
the
we
week,
trust. In
putting pressure
God
on the
we trust.
politicians, letting them know that they'd be voted out if they weren't listening to the people, and the people were listened to. This is an amazing show of our rights to protest peacefully. Awesome job, guys. Awesome job. So anyway, just wanted to touch on that, let you know that the misinformation is not misinformation. What we've been telling you is truth. It's all based in science, and all we ask is that you guys start doing your research. You want to learn about herd immunity? You can go to my vaccine playlist on my Fear versus Freedom channel. I have hundreds of videos that are all referenced with scientific journals to talk about how real herd immunity works with actual infection, and then how they try to take that and tweak it with vaccines, and it doesn't work. Vaccines do not give you lifelong immunity, and not only that, everybody's been given a different schedule as you got older. So for example, I only had 11 doses of maybe 23 vaccines. My parents had like 3 total. And again, back to when I was a kid and there weren't any of these epidemics, or at least the headlines trying to scare you about them. Look at the vaccination rates back in 1985. In fact, we only had the 3 vaccines, DTP, which is horrifically dangerous, polio, and MMR. Well, they're all dangerous. Look at all the vaccines that didn't even exist back then that our kids all have to get multiple rounds of each of. Okay, we went from 11 shots to over 50 shots today, 23 total doses to over 70 today. And what happened? Chronic illness has shot up. Mental illness has shot up. Death is crazy. Cancer, it's out of control. So what is the media trying to do with these headlines? Trigger you. And it's working. It works every time. Look, this comes directly from the CDC. This graph is developed from this page from the cdc.gov site looking at coverage. Again, all these injections didn't exist back from the 60s through to 1990. And then even once they got added, vaccine coverage wasn't that great back in the 90s. Until the 2000s did we even hit the 95 percentile for DTaP and some of the others. So look, today we're at 94% in most places, especially these places that are trying to remove your right to choose. It's unreal. These outbreaks are going to happen whether you're at that 95% community immunity threshold that they just made up, whether you're at 100%. Look at the news reports on the outbreaks. Texas just had an outbreak of pertussis, 100% vaccination rate. California also had an outbreak of pertussis, 100% vaccination rate. Mumps has been having tons of outbreaks with 100% vaccination rates. Again, do your research. But the news today is awesome. That bill was shut down by the power of the people. Way to go. Let's keep that momentum going nationwide. And awesome, awesome work, guys. Great, great work. Let's celebrate the win and call that one a day. Thanks, guys. Bye.